What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the SomeWhatSports Podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm joined by three of the greats in this industry. That's right, three, not two, three. We got Jurg and Dame, as always, but we also have another legend. He was already in an episode. I wasn't there, but I heard overwhelmingly positive reviews. He was brought to us by Jurg, so I know he stems from greatness. Jurg and Dame, of course, how are y'all? And then, of course, we'll introduce the GOAT, JB. Fellas, how are we this week?
I'm doing good personally. It's transaction-filled episode today. We're going to talk about a lot, both in terms of basketball and hockey. The hockey's back. It wasn't going to be gone for long, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, I'm excited to get things going.
I'm still crippled, but I've earned myself some more PT, so I'm use it on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday. But I'm glad I earned this PT, but I'm still a little crippled, so see how that goes.
The king of vacation time on the show.
Yeah, he's going to Vegas next week, guys, so it's going to be a banger of an episode. No Dame. JB, how are you, buddy? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's NBA free agency day. It's like another Christmas for me.
Yeah.
All these players are gonna find new teams or sign back with their old teams, and hopefully there are no more Miles Bridges situations like what happened last night.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that, to be honest. Wow. But you are right. It's Christmas season in the NBA because free agency is upon us. We are recording Thursday. This will probably release over the weekend. But NBA free agency starts at 6 p.m. today. I did not know that. I thought it would be midnight, but I guess not. Look, there's a plethora of news. There's a plethora of smoke. There's a plethora of movement. And we're going to talk about, some of it. But besides free agency, there was also a few trades that occurred this past week. And we're going to talk about them. The major ones, nothing minor. But besides NBA news, besides NBA free agency news, we also have some NHL news that Jurg and JB will discuss. And of course, they will lead into the show talking about the Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche, who defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games, I believe, Jurg?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. So we have a new king in hockey. So we got NHL news, and we got NHL champions crowned. Jurg and JB are going to do what they do best, talk about it. So Ice Royalty, starting us off, as always. Jurg, JB, what do you got for us?
Well, yes, as you said, Chris, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get to what matters most here, and that is that the Colorado Avalanche, JB, are the new Stanley Cup champions in the NHL world. They defeated and toppled the back-to-back defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games to hoist the franchise's first Stanley Cup since the early 2000s. It's been a long time coming for that team. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the series here, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to some of the offseason, because the NHL offseason, just like the NBA, is right around the corner. We're getting very close. The NHL draft is next week, so that's going to be a lot. Maybe a very slight recap next week here on the show. Can't promise anything because I'll admit, not the strongest knowledge of this draft class for me personally, but we'll see what we can do. JB, you know how it rolls here. We always sneak in high whenever we can, so do that. But the first things first, the Avs won in 6 games. It was a 2-1 series after the first 3. It looked like things were shifting. It looked like Tampa was going to be able to tie the series in Game 4, but Colorado snuck that one out in overtime off of the insane Nazem Kadri goal. We'll talk about some details in the series here in a moment. Tampa Bay won Game 5, and it looked like Game 6, they had some of the momentum again, but Colorado just took it from them. Nathan MacKinnon tied the game in Game 6. Arturi Lehkonen, he just scores clutch goals. Like, it's just something that he does. And Colorado Avalanche are your Stanley Cup champions. JB, I'm going straight to you first here. Just your thoughts overall on how this series went down. And what your thoughts were going into it, and how everything played out in your mind?
Well, when I'm going into the series, I know it was kind of interesting because a lot of the fans I knew actually were favoring Tampa, but a lot of the media were favoring Colorado. I thought it was going to be a really good series. I thought it was going to come down to like goaltending, and it actually didn't really come down to goaltending. I wouldn't say that Vasilevsky played badly. I just think that one thing that just became crystal clear to me, and I picked up on this the first 2 games, Colorado was just a more faster, a little more athletic team than Tampa Bay was. And that was something that just really stood out to me. And you even saw it in Game 4. As the game went on, it kind of just felt like Tampa Bay was just kind of like thrashing, like they were drowning, and they were just thrashing, hoping to be saved. And I thought probably during the third period of game 4, I said Colorado's going to win this series. I don't think they're going to win this series in 5, but I think that they probably the most likely outcome is that they'll win the series in 6. And I was right about that. Man, kudos to Colorado. I mean, like they have been much aligned. They lost. I think people forget, man, 2017, 2018, they were one of the worst teams in the league. I think they finished that season with 48 points.
Well, I think it was 16,
or 17.
16,
17, and then they made the playoffs. Like they got knocked out by Nashville in 18, and it was like kind of a repression for them. I know that they hadn't made it to the conference finals yet, but like I felt like even last year, I think that had they been able to beat the Golden Knights, they probably would have made the finals against Colorado last year. So I mean, kudos to them. Eric Johnson, he gets his first Stanley Cup. Gabriel Landeskog, he's been the captain there for years, and it was great seeing him get to hold the cup first. So, I mean, like, well deserved by Colorado. They were clearly the best team this playoffs. Like, they just ran through competition with ease.
Oh, without question. I mean, you talk about it. 2 losses against St. Louis, the 2 losses here against Tampa. They swept Edmonton in the conference finals, and they swept Nashville in the first round. It's the least amount of losses that a Stanley Cup winning team has had in well over a decade. Like it just went to show that when they were the better team, they were the better team in spades. Like and how dominant they were. I'm 100% with you, JP. When I really look back at the series, I think a lot of people had thought it was going to come down to goaltending, and I'm with you. I think Vasilevsky. I know Game 2 was a bad game, but the rest of the series, I think he more than did his job. He more than performed for Tampa Bay in the series. I think it's just simply put, like you said, Colorado was the faster team, but I think Tampa Bay's offense just sputtered out, and they just absolutely failed Vasilevsky.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They did, and I think one of the things that I'll pick up on, like when I go back and look at Game 4 and I go back and look at Game 6, like the tape just told me that what Tampa Bay had done to teams in 2020 and 2021 and winning back-to-back championships, Colorado was doing to them. They had such a hard time getting into the zone and establishing any kind of offense. It's just like Colorado's defense was choking them out, and that's something that I'll just remember for the rest of the series. Like just like Colorado just dominating like them and them just not being able to get anything going. I do think that like Tampa Bay had some beat up people on the team. Like they had a lot of injuries, and Braden Point, that injury was huge. Yeah. But I mean, injuries are a part of the game. You can make the same argument because in 2020, Dallas had a lot of injuries. I mean, I think Rupe Hintz broke his foot like early on in that series, and that was a huge loss for Dallas. But injuries are a part of the game, and Colorado was by far the better team.
Yeah, and to be fair, like I will say this about the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I was saying this about them on the show for a reason. I think, and John Cooper said it best, when we look back at this 3-year run by the Tampa Bay Lightning, like even though they were unable to complete the three-peat, I think we're going to remember them very much so, because I think back, JB, the 2020 NHL playoffs started August 1st of 2020. It's been less than full 2 calendar years, and we've had to complete 3 seasons. From the start of those playoffs, we had to complete playoffs. We had to go through another whole season, and now we just completed another whole season. The fact to me that Tampa Bay was able to three-peat at least the East and came this close to three-peating the Stanley Cup Final as a whole, I think was just massively impressive. And I think, like you said, I think everything started to wear them down. I think the pressure got to them. I think you saw a lot of frustration from them in that Game 6. It was just a team that everything was just piling up on them, and people break, athletes break. And I think for them, when Lehkonen got that second goal, I think that just really deflated them, and they weren't able to come back, which is really the only time in these last 3 playoff runs that we have seen that from Tampa Bay, excuse me.
And it was such a fluky goal too. Like it goes off of the guy's stick and goes right to Lehkonen, and he just he scores off of it, and it was a fluky goal. And I think that they definitely ran out of gas. I think that you could kind of sort of just tell that they were not only fatigued physically, but they were also mentally fatigued. They made a lot of mistakes that they normally don't make. And you saw the whole series, like Game 1, you had the delay of game penalty towards the end of the third period. They don't make mistakes like that. And I think that Colorado's just speed and just skill, it put a ton of pressure on them. And I don't think that they hadn't seen anything like Colorado the last 2 years in the playoffs. Nothing like that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. This was easily the best, most complete team that they face, because you think of even in this play, and once again, I got to give credit because a lot of people were dancing on Tampa Bay's graves after they lost in this Game 6. I think a lot of people forget that this was the first time ever that a team in all 4 rounds of the playoffs that their opponents had at least 50 wins every single round. They took on the Maple Leafs in round 1, 50-plus win team. They took on the Panthers in round 2. That's the President's Trophy winning team. And they took on the Rangers in round 3. Every single team in the East that Tampa Bay beat all had 50-plus wins. So I think for a lot of people, of course, they like to overstate it when a team loses, as we've seen them when people try to say, dynasties are dead. I think that's the farthest thing for Tampa Bay. But I think the speed of Colorado and just the fatigue of the last 3 years, 2 years technically, but ending 3 seasons, I think it really did catch up to them. But once again, not to take anything away from Colorado, because like you said, JB, I was very happy for those guys. Gabriel Landeskog, he's been the captain for over a decade. If it wasn't in his rookie season, it was at the very start of his second year in the NHL where they gave him the captaincy. And that was a big deal for them to award the captaincy. When you're awarded captaincy before the age of 21 in this league, that means a lot. So he's been the captain for so long. Eric Johnson being the veteran on that team. The two of them have really been through it. Nathan McKinnon, a guy who I've said it multiple times, if he was going to end his career without a Stanley Cup, that would have been a travesty, because he is one of the most underratedly talented players in the game today. And Cale Makar, just building up a Hall of Fame resume already. It's just something special. So
he definitely changed the outlook of that team. Him signing like straight out of college and him appearing in the 2019 playoffs, it just kind of changed the ceiling of that team. Like, he's just an amazing defenseman. And then Mikko Rantanen. And, I think the biggest thing that they addressed, for the last few years, now last year it kind of changed. They were just seen as kind of a one-line team, but they had a lot of depth scoring. Like, Arturi Lehkonen was huge for them. Manson was huge for them. They were just a very deep team. And they won with Darcy Kemper not really playing amazingly. I mean, I think that Darcy Kemper, he was good at times in the postseason, but I think overall you could say he was kind of pedestrian in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure. And when you think about them the last couple of years with Philip Grubauer, and he was in the Vezina Trophy conversations last year. Now, granted, of course, he played terribly this year, but that's in part because Seattle just had nothing in front of him. You see Darcy Kemper, and to your point, like there were times where he played really good in these playoffs, and then there were times when he just struggled. And even in the Edmonton series, we saw him knocked out, and Pavel Francouz started games for them in the conference finals, and they were able to win. So it just goes to show that this Colorado team specifically, like you said, just a lot deeper than the teams in years past that would just falter in the second round. I will say for the Tampa Bay Lightning, at least for me, JB, I don't know about you, but the whole too many men on the ice thing in Game 4, I think, is going to be one of those things that the series gets remembered for, which I think kind of when a series gets made more about the officiating and other factors than just the games themselves, I'm not that big of a fan of. I will say this, and I think you can agree from watching as much hockey as you have, JB, is that the refs call the Stanley Cup Final a certain way. And at the end of the day, you're just not going to get a lot of calls in these games, especially the final game. The best analysis I heard for the clinching game, and this will be the last of the Stanley Cup Final in and of itself, you get, as teams, you each get one bona fide call. You're going to get it in the end of the season. In Game 6, Tampa's got theirs early, and then Colorado's got theirs, and then that was it. And then there were no more calls. So you really saw how differently officiated it was. And it's definitely going to be something that a lot of people key in on. I don't want to do too much of that because I just more want to celebrate the greatness that we just got to finish seeing, because for myself personally, I said this was the best Stanley Cup Final series that we had seen on paper since the 2015 Cup Final. And I stand by that, even if maybe there were certain moments in the series where it kind of didn't live up to that expectation. But I think this has been one of the series that we have been promised for the last couple of years, with Colorado's ascension and Tampa being great. And I say for the most part, I think it lived up to at least my expectations. It went to 6.
It did. Other than Game 2, all the games were close, and I think Tampa could legitimately, the fans could look back and say, well, if we would have won one of those overtime games, if they won one of those overtime games, we're probably going to Game 7, and anything can happen in the Game 7. We've seen strange things happen in the Game 7, but it wasn't to be. And Colorado, congrats on winning the championship. It's hard. And shout out to Jared Bednar. I mean, he's the first coach to have won an ECHL championship, an AHL championship, and now a Stanley Cup. I know he had been criticized for some of their playoff flameouts. I don't think you can really blame what happened in the bubble to them, because they had a lot of injuries against Dallas in that series. And then last year, kooky things happen in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You blowing a 2-0 lead in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it happens. Like, I want to say it happens at least once a year, man.
Yeah.
So like, but good for him, man. He actually deserved it, because I think that people were probably gonna like say he was like an undeserving coach, and I don't like when people say that. So he's good for him.
Agreed, especially, and we talked about Colorado, JB. He was the head coach, a lot of people forget, for that 16-17 season when they were bottom of the barrel.
It was his first year. It was his first year. It was a rough first year, yeah.
And I remember a lot of people were saying he should have been fired after year one with how bad they were. And they stuck through it. You got to give Joe Sakic credit. He really like gave himself a renaissance for his own career, and he did an amazing job building this team. So hats off to the Colorado Avalanche and winning the Stanley Cup. And once again, congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Cooper said himself, in a league where they like parity as much as they can, it's extremely difficult for an organization to do what they've done the last couple of years. And they're not done.
No, they're not done. As long as they have Vasilevsky, I know that their cap situation is looking tough, but they're able to find these bargain players. Like Nick Paul played great for them. I mean, the guy was in Ottawa and he was scoring big time goals for them the whole playoffs. So
yeah, they got Brendan Hagel from the Blackhawks doing a trade. He may not have scored as much as people would have thought, but I think next year when he's going to be fully in the lineup, I think they're going to be able to use him well. Like you said it yourself, they've just been finding these guys. They've been taking these guys from their minor league team, and they've just been developing them and putting them in the spot. It's been incredible, to say the least. So moving on from that, we get a little bit into the offseason. So like I said, when it comes to this, we're not going to get too much into the draft or free agency. That's for future episodes, but what we will get to, JP, is the head coaching hires. So far in this offseason, we have had 6 NHL head coaches hired to new clubs. We're going to briefly go over that. We're going to talk about the 3 teams that are still in need of hires. We're going to run through it. A lot of important teams making new hires this offseason, JB. So we're going to start in the order that I collected this in, which was alphabetical. We're going to start with the Chicago Blackhawks. They hired Luke Richardson away from the Montreal Canadiens to be their head coach. This is going to be his first real head coaching stint. Any thoughts about the Richardson hire that you thought?
I'm not really that familiar with him. I don't know. I just know that like I'm hoping that he gets an actual chance to like coach. I think that they've had like a lot of instability in that organization since they decided to fire Joel Quenneville. And then you had the situation, unfortunately, with what happened last year with the report coming out about what happened to the former NHL player. What's that guy's name?
Kyle Beach, yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Beach, and Rocky Wirtz has not really handled himself well. So I'm hoping that he is able to get like a fair shot and they don't move off of him if Chicago has enough. Because Chicago's like in rebuild when you think about it. So I'm hoping he gets at least 3 years to kind of put a stamp on this team.
I agree. As a Blackhawk fan, I hope Richardson does get a chance here. I will say this. One thing I do like about Richardson that I'm really hopeful for is that he's really going to give the young players a chance to play here. People, in case some people forget, for those of us that for the people that listen to the show that actually do watch hockey a lot, Richardson took over for Dominic Ducharme when he had to temporarily be out a little bit last year's playoffs because of COVID. For going into the protocols. And one thing that Richardson did is he was actually the reason that the Young Guns finally entered the lineup in the Canadiens Stanley Cup final run in 2021. Ducharme did not want to play Cole Caulfield and Kotkaniemi for God knows whatever reason. And Richardson was the person that like really inserted them and pushed them to be in the lineup, and they performed after he did so. So I like for that. I think he's one of the 2 of the 6 hires here. He's one of the 2 guys who this is his first head coaching opportunity. So I'm very hopeful and excited for him personally. I want new blood in the coaching ranks in the NHL. I'm sick of the same 30 to 40 guys always being interviewed. And I think Richardson can really, I hope this is a good first stop for him in his coaching career. Of course, as a Blackhawk fan, if he does really good, I would like for this to be the only stop, but we can only be so hopeful. I just want the young players to ultimately perform well for Richardson. And I think there is a chance, and especially because the Blackhawks do get to keep their first round pick next year. I'm just saying this, JB, there's one message for Chicago in my mind. Boys, fall hard for Connor Bedard, because that's the goal. That is the goal for next season, ladies and gentlemen, to get that first overall pick in next year's draft. The next team here in the head coach that hired a new coach in this offseason is the Dallas Stars, and they hired former San Jose Shark, former Las Vegas Golden Knight coach Peter DeBoer with their head coaching hire. DeBoer has a lot of history in the NHL with what he's accomplished and what he's done in his career. Former New Jersey Devils head coach. He was the head coach for them when they made the Stanley Cup Final way back when in 2012. Funny enough, I actually relearned that fact today when I was looking this up. He led the San Jose Sharks to a Stanley Cup Final appearance in the 2017 season, if memory serves properly. And then he's been the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights the last couple of years. Of course, they made the Stanley Cup semifinal last season before ultimately missing out on the playoffs this year. So Peter DeBoer, as I kind of alluded to before, one of the many head coaches who has been kind of recycled in the league for a little bit now. He has some experience behind the bench, of course. This is a guy who has a pretty good regular season record, but it's not just about the regular season. It's about more than that. JB, what were your thoughts when Peter DeBoer was hired as Dallas' head coach?
Well, unfortunately, I'm a Dallas fan. I hated the hire. I think Peter DeBoer, I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but if you look at it, he's good for the first year or two, and then everything kind of goes downhill. He has very bad social skills. Like he basically sabotaged Andre Fleury, got him out of town, went to bed for how Robin Lerner was his buddy, and then he threw Robin Lerner under the bus too as well. I hate the hire. I think Jim Nill was just like thrashing, like hoping that something sticks to the wall. I think Jim Nill, like, he needs to get fired at some point or another because he's not hiring the right coach. Like, I thought, why not try to go after Paul Maurice? Paul Maurice was out there. Like, there were other guys. They could even have hired a younger guy than Peter DeBoer. I don't like the hire, man. I understand that they need a more offensive coach because, like, Ken Hitchcock and, like, Rick Bowness they want to win hockey games 1-0. That's not going to happen. Not anymore. But, like, I didn't like the hire. It's not gonna surprise me at some point if he doesn't throw poor Jake Ottinger under the bus next year when he has a bad game.
Right.
Like, he's Peter DeBoer's an asshole.
Hey, not bad analysis right there. It's funny you mentioned Ottinger there because he is the reason, JB, that the Dallas Stars lasted so long in these playoffs. So we'll see how things go ultimately there for Dallas. I mean, let's go straight up. And again, this was the next coach on my list here personally. JB, you mentioned him, Paul Maurice. Yeah. He is now the head coach of the Florida Panthers. I don't even want to so much ask about Paul Maurice being the new head coach. Do you think it was fair for them to just let Brunette go? Like, do you think?
I didn't like that. I thought that he was kind of put in a tough situation with Joe Quenneville having to resign due to the Kyle Beach backlash. And he had a good year. It's just the fact that their offense went dry, man. Like, you can't win a series scoring what? They scored 5 goals in 4 games. I don't think this is all. And, like, they hadn't gotten shut out the whole year. They get shut out in game 4. I don't know, man. Like, Andrew Brunette, he did as good as you could hope for. They won the President's Trophy. They lost to Tampa Bay, which is no shame in that. I would have brought him back. Like, look, I think Paul Maurice is a good coach. I really do. I think that he doesn't have that good of a record, but if you look at it, when he was with Carolina, they didn't have the best teams, but he still had them competitive. They weren't a complete and utter joke. I really like to see what he's going to do with this team, although I think we have to talk about Anthony Duclair. Like, basically, he's going to probably miss all of next year, probably. He hurt his Achilles the other day. So, that's a big loss right there. But, like, no, I didn't like them getting rid of Andrew Brunette, but it's a dog-eat-dog world sometimes.
Oh no, absolutely. I'm with you there, and I think the thing is that with how they did it, and like you said, at the end of the day, he got the opportunity because he replaced Joel Quenneville, and with that, with interim coaches, and I can say the same thing with the Blackhawks. We had an interim coach because we fired Carlton during this past season. Like, the interim coach, they get their chance, and Brunette, of course, did a really good job, but at the end of the day, it's like you said, GMs and owners, they make decisions that, we may not always agree with. I hope for Andrew Brunette's sake, he gets another opportunity here. There are 3 teams that we're going to go into here in a moment that, they could still use a head coach. I know the Panthers did offer Brunette a chance to stay in the organization. I don't know if he's accepted that. I haven't heard any update on that front. Personally, I think, if he showed that he can coach well, I think to a level, as long as it's not against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we'll see what happens there and what the future can hold for him. We're gonna kind of, to an extent, rapid fire with the remainder of these teams here real quick. I'm going to start with the New York Islanders. They hired Lane Lambert to be their new head coach. A Barry Trotz disciple, to say the least. He's been an assistant coach on Barry Trotz's coaching staffs multiple times throughout his career. He was there, of course, with the Islanders. He was on the bench. He was with the Capitals, actually, with Barry Trotz when they won the Stanley Cup. I believe he was in Nashville for a spell with Barry Trotz as well. So JB, of course, we still kind of don't know. I mean, we kind of have an inkling. We don't know exactly why Trotz ultimately did leave. But what are your thoughts? They essentially, like, Lane Lambert was Barry Trotz's guy for a long time. So what does this hiring do for the Islanders?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he's a Barry Trotz guy, I expect for their style to be kind of the same, maybe a little tweaks and stuff like that. But I don't know what to think. I think that they're the kind of team where they were a bit of an older team. They didn't have like a lot of high-end young talent. And I think that maybe 2020 and 2021 was their window. Like, I mean, I think we honestly have to maybe question whether their window isn't closed and they might have to do a mini rebuild now. So, I mean, if the players like them, then that's always a plus. Like, if the players like you, they're always going to give you their best effort. But I didn't think Barry Trotz was the problem last year. I thought they had a lot of injuries and they just got off to one of those really, really bad starts that you can't recover from.
Right. And also, they started out the season on the road for like the first month or so. Like their first however many games were all on the road because they were waiting for the new arena in Elmont to be like properly finished. So I think there were a lot of reasons. I was with you. I didn't like the fact that they fired Trotz. I felt there was no reason. If Lambert can keep up the defense and maybe he could add an offensive wrinkling, which I think as you can kind of infer things. And if you read in between the lines, I think a big reason was because apparently Matthew Barzal and Barry Trotz butted heads quite a few times. Yeah. We'll see if maybe Lambert can do something a little bit different to get the offense more flowing. Because I will say this, like defensively, if things should remain the same for the most part, but they do need to be better. If there is one critique you could say about a Barry Trotz, like the Barry Trotz Islanders, it's just the offense would just like in the biggest moments, they just weren't able to do. And now in part, it's because they faced Andrei Vasilevsky in the postseason 2 years in a row, but also because like Trotz is fine as an offensive coach. His style is defense though. So we'll see if maybe Lambert can give just a little bit of a different fold. We mentioned a couple different head coaches here in passing, JB, who are very hard-nosed, defensive-first guys. Well, this guy, he's back. The big boogeyman himself, John Tortorella, is the head coach once again. He's the head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. JB, this is my simple question to you, JB. Over under 2.5 seasons before he gets fired from the Flyers?
I'm gonna go under, man. I don't understand how he keeps saying he's like the worst coach like in the world, man. He's a malcontent. He's constantly like giving it to the media when he's doing a bad job. The players don't seem to really like him either. I'm surprised that Latrell Sprewell situation hasn't happened to this guy. Like I didn't have good things to say about DeBoer. DeBoer is like Mother Teresa compared to John Tortorella. I mean, wow. And he was working for ESPN too. And I was like, man, I hope he stays on ESPN. Not that I like him, but it's great for the other 30 franchises in the NHL that he doesn't have a job. I mean, he's won a Stanley Cup, but I mean, man, like Philadelphia, they're another team that I think all I know is this, man. I know Claude Giroux is like, man, there's no damn way in the world I'm going back to Philadelphia again unless I'm on the visitors. I'm in the visitors locker room.
Right.
Yeah. They could have hired somebody else. I mean, I would have just gone with a young guy, but yeah, John, that's all I have on that one, man.
Oh, no, I don't blame you. I'll say this, because there are a couple of young players. You mentioned young players on this team. I think one of two things is going to happen with the young guys on this team, because there's Joel Farabee, there's Carter Hart, who I still have hope for. I think Carter Hart played a lot better last year, just the defense in front of him.
It was horrible.
He had Rasmus Ristolainen in front of him. Need I say more? Like, I think one of two things is going to happen to the Flyers next season. This is either going to make them or break them for the young core. I think this is going to be one of those two things. He's either going to actually get the best out of them, or he's going to ruin their careers. Legitimately one or the other. And the last new head coaching signing, not technically a new coach because he just coached this past season for a different team, but Bruce Cassidy was unceremoniously fired by the Boston Bruins. I don't know if you heard the story behind it, JB. Apparently, they went to his house, and the meeting at his house was where they ultimately ended up letting him go from the Bruins. But he didn't have to wait long to find work. The Vegas Golden Knights get him. I think this is very much a step up. I know Bruins fans have had their issues with Bruce Cassidy, JB, but I think he's going to be the right hire for the Vegas Golden Knights here for that team.
I agree. And actually, and digging around, like I went to a couple of Bruins websites. The overwhelming majority of the fans said that like they liked him and they thought he was just a scapegoat for what was going on with the president and the general manager. I can't think of his name right now.
Sweeney.
Don Sweeney and the president Cam Neely. And here's the thing, man, with the Bruins had a nice run. They won the championship in 2011, but I think Don Sweeney has done a lot of damage to this team within the last 5 or 6 years. And I think, unfortunately, I think that Cassidy fell on the sword for Don Sweeney's sins. And what's really bad is that Cam Neely and Don Sweeney are apparently best buddies. And Cam Neely didn't want to fire Sweeney, so the head coach had to go. So I think Cassidy was a good hire. I think that I was hoping actually Dallas was going to hire him. I think that he's a really good coach. I mean, he always got the best out of his teams. Like they were a playoff team every year. They were in the thick of it. And, like they lost a game 7 on the road, 3-1 to Carolina. Like we 3-2, actually. Game 7s can go anyway. Like if they make the conference finals, do you think he still gets fired? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, good hire for Vegas. I would not be surprised if Vegas doesn't win that division next year with ease because they had a lot of injuries this year.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Bruins are once again falling back. It looked like they weren't for a little bit, but it looks like they're going to be a good old boys club again in the NHL. And like you said, I think Bruce Cassidy at the end of the day really did fall on the sword here. Just a couple days ago, I think maybe it was actually last week. I don't know if you saw it on social media, JB, but a lot of NHL fans were lamenting and making fun of the Bruins that it was the anniversary of the infamous where they had the 3 first-round picks and they missed out on Thomas Chabot, Matt Barzal, and one more player whose name is escaping me at the moment. God, guy on the Winnipeg Jets, Kyle Connor.
Kyle Connor, yeah.
That same draft, the Bruins had 3 first-round picks, and they picked none of those guys. It's absolutely insane. They could have had 3 all-star caliber players on their team in that draft, and they whiffed on all 3 of them. And that was Don Sweeney. I could be wrong. That was his first or second draft as Bruins GM as well. So just a lot of mistakes, a lot of things going wrong in Boston right now, and we'll see what happens with that team next year and what could happen. Speaking of Boston, JB, they're one of the 3 teams that still need a head coach in this offseason. Them, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Winnipeg Jets are still in need of coaches. It'll be interesting to see. I think, honestly, for me, JB, I think the most enticing team here is the Detroit Red Wings because I think for the future of these 3 teams, Detroit's is the brightest.
Agreed. I would say the most enticing is Detroit. I think Winnipeg's not that bad, man. Like I don't think it's a bad job per se. I mean, I don't know. Living in Winnipeg in the wintertime is already like bad enough, though. But yeah, I think that I totally agree with you. I think the least enticing job is definitely the Bruins job because the Bruins have a lot of stuff that I think needs to be cleaned up. And if I go into a coma tomorrow and you wake me up like in April and you tell me that the Bruins have like one of the worst records in the league, I'm not shocked.
Honestly, it's going to be interesting. At least for me, the only reason why I slightly keep the Bruins in second for myself right now is just because the roster is still there. And I think there's enough for them to be able to fight back. Now, it depends on, how much time guys miss. I will say that, they still need to fill the second line center spot. Brad Marchand had surgery this offseason. So I'm not going to lie, there are some worrying things. My only thing with Winnipeg is that even their organization, it's not the same level to the Bruins, but they have some things in the organization right now brewing. Pierre-Luc Dubois already said he's going to test free agency. Mark Scheifele could be on the way out. Blake Wheeler has not been a good contract for the last couple of years. Things are falling apart in Winnipeg. So that's the only reason I would give the Bruins job a slight edge. But we all agree, like the core that Detroit has there with Maurice Cedar, the Rookie of the Year winner, Lucas Raymond is a great young piece. Dylan Larkin is an amazing player. The pieces in Detroit, they're another piece. In hockey you can't just say 1 or 2 pieces, but they're a couple moves away here, JB, from making the playoffs again. And I think the right head coach hire will be it. And Steve Yzerman, it's going to be interesting to see who he's going to end up, letting take the reins here for the Red Wings. And yeah, that's really about it when it comes to the coaches. Like I said, the draft is next week. Free agency follows just days after that. Very, very close together. I think this should be kind of the last weird NHL offseason we have because of what happened with COVID. But yeah, we'll see. Any final notes about any of the head coaching stuff, JB?
No, I think we covered it.
I think we did too. And like I said, the next couple weeks, the NBA will have the top priority here on the show, of course, but the NHL will get some coverage here, whether it be bringing JB back on or some other hockey people. I know we're definitely going to cover plenty of hockey here during the summer because it could shape up to be an interesting offseason. We'll see how everything plays out, of course, starting with the draft next week. But yeah, that ultimately, that just about wraps up the NHL segment here for the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we continue on the show because hockey's done, but basketball is here. And the other half of the show can re-enter. I know we talked a lot about hockey there, boys. I apologize, but we hockey guys, we got to do our thing. We got to have fun. We got to talk about the ice. So, Chris and Dame can re-enter the fray now, and we're going to talk about what is shaping up to be an interesting NBA summer. And Chris, I'm not gonna continue. You take it away here because JB, while we were talking, some big news broke.
Huge news, breaking news. This just flipped the show's narrative. Kevin Durant requests a trade from the Brooklyn Nets officially. Yeah, guys, I think we need to rethink things right now. I think we need to boycott the mentioned schedule, the rundown. We need to talk about this right now. Kevin Durant requests a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. Let's go, man. We got breaking news and we're recording. Okay. It says here, Woj and Shams both confirmed it. The Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat are among two of the teams that Kevin Durant has on his wish list, but the Nets plan to move Durant where they can get the best possible deal. With 4 years on his contract, there's no shortage of teams willing to unload assets for Durant. Fellas, all right, let's just take a moment to smoke on that Nets pack. Fuck Brooklyn, baby. They're done. Let's go. Beautiful. What? Bridges have been burned. We're done. No championships, only one playoff series win. Can we let's hold our drinks up, our imaginary drinks up for this garbage-ass franchise striking out completely. Huge W. New York is, Knicks town only, baby. All right, so let's talk about this. Kevin Durant. Guys, I think off rip, Phoenix has the best package right now.
Absolutely.
I think, Phoenix off rip, DeAndre Ayton, we already heard the smoke that he wants out. They don't want him. Sign and trade possibly. So he's like the main core piece of that trade package. You could attach Mikal Bridges, maybe Cam Johnson, or just Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, and some picks. Who knows? Obviously, he's going to take a king's ransom. But it says here that the Nets, they're going to take his priorities into account. But whatever gives him the best package. Miami, Jerg, you could talk for this. Not as enticing as the Phoenix offer. I guess you could highlight it with Tyler Hero, but if you're not offering Bam, which I know you don't want, and I know which Pat Riley won't do, it's kind of a little lackluster if it's just Tyler Hero centric and just a bunch of meh picks.
Now hold on. I believe the Miami Heat will be willing to offer Bam.
Really?
But here's the thing. If the Nets take the Heat's trade package that includes Bam, they need to make a 3-team deal and they have to get rid of Ben Simmons. Because
for contracts?
No. Because the NBA rules state you cannot have two designated extended players on the same team via trade. So both Ben Simmons and Bam Adebayo, when they signed their max deals, they were deemed as designated players by their franchises because of the max extensions they got. You cannot trade for two of those players on your roster. So if the Nets want to get Bam, they need to trade Ben Simmons.
Oh, so that's going to be a whole thing in itself then.
Yeah.
So is that likely? I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to doubt Pat Riley, but I just think right now, and we're just talking out of our asses right now because we just got hit with this news now. I think Phoenix has the best package to offer. What do we think? Let's go. Thoughts, Dame. We haven't spoken in a while. Let's talk.
I don't see a better package than Phoenix either. That's why even before it came out that he prefers Phoenix and Miami, or they're just two teams on his list. Just off the top of my head, just trying to think of a team, I thought of Phoenix because they have the assets to do it. Obviously, they're losing DeAndre Ayton, but they could sign and trade him, and that could be an asset to give to Brooklyn. You have Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. You have a couple other young pieces you can add. I don't know if they're going to give all of them. They might honestly have to, since Brooklyn's looking for a historic package of players and picks. And then you obviously, I don't know what their pick situation is, but I know they don't have a situation like the Nets or Lakers or teams like that just gave up all their picks for a player and they don't have any future picks. So I think Phoenix is in the best position to do it, especially because they already have a win now team that Kevin Durant obviously wants to go to. He's not going to any team that's not ready to contend for a championship. So in my mind, just off the first reports and just off me thinking, I think Phoenix is the ideal situation for both the Nets to get a package and for KD.
I don't. This is just absurd. Like it kind of seems like Phoenix is the team because obviously he wants to go there. They're ready to win. They have the best package. It just kind of seems like it's inevitable at this point. Like, should we expect a surprise out here? Well, as an optimistic Knicks fan, I don't see it happening. Like, I know they accumulate all those picks, but those are not enticing enough to like kind of have Brooklyn flinch. So I think player wise and just this, I think it's just Phoenix. I think the end game is Phoenix. Like when you just take into account everything considered, like I'm pretty sure they're accommodate if he wants Phoenix and Miami, sure. And then what is the best package available? It's just Phoenix. They just check up all the boxes. Should we expect any dark horses here in terms of trade?
I mean,
I don't think so.
Always have the Portland Trailblazers.
Who are they offering, bro?
Oh, it's package around Simons, and I don't know.
That's not better than Phoenix's, yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Well, it would be Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, a bunch of future picks. I'm trying to think of other players on that roster, but I can't.
Is that more enticing than Phoenix's? It's enticing for sure, but is it more than Phoenix's?
I mean, Phoenix. So Phoenix. So you said it. Sign and trade with Ayton.
It has to be Bridges.
Bridges. Yeah, probably would be Bridges.
Picks,
and
maybe Cam Johnson. That's an overpay. I'm not gonna.
You're losing your whole front court there.
I don't care.
Is there such thing as an overpay for Kevin Durant though?
Well, wait, can you? What? No, this is a real question. Actually, can you sign and trade two players in the same deal?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Isn't Cam Johnson a free agent or did he sign already?
What did he say? He signed 2019, so he's not due for a contract yet.
He's not.
I mean,
I could sworn he was coming out.
He can, but I don't like. It's like this. I don't know. I really don't know. Actually,
I thought he was up. That's my only thing. But if you can trade him, I mean, I'm sure
he's up next year. I think.
Okay. So
Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
So Johnson, Bridges, sign and trade with Ayton, first round picks. They should still have a lot of their picks because I don't think they have to give up a little bit for Chris Paul, but they didn't give up that much.
Wow, I don't know. Do you guys think the deal gets done soon?
I'm happy. I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean, overall, okay, me and Dave have his friend, bro. It's like, bro, he's not going to the Lakers, dog. It's just he's not going to the Lakers. We need to stop this, bro. It's not even gonna. No, I don't think it's gonna happen. But
I'm not trading AD.
Of course, KD wants to go to Phoenix, bro. It's the best, one of the best teams in the West. But let's talk about this though. Kyrie opts in. We thought, okay, they'll run it back for one more year, and we're just like, okay, so now that Kyrie's opting in, I guess they're safe. But I guess not. KD just kind of hit the shit out of nowhere. I'm trying to look because I think Woj has a tweet.
Do you want some filibustering here, real quick?
Sure.
So JB, I'll enter us in the conversation here. You probably agree with them, but in terms of what Phoenix's package will be, I mean, I wasn't trying to insinuate that it's too much, but do you think like Phoenix? I think on paper you'd agree, JP, they have the most enticing package between what they could give.
Yeah, and I also think that maybe Wichcom wouldn't be a part of the deal. Mikal Bridges, I think Jay Crowder is a part of that deal.
I think you want to go young.
Yeah, I think Jay Crowder might be a part of it. I think maybe Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson, and Aiden are a part of the deal. I don't think they give up Mikal Bridges. I think he's a lot more flexible as a player. He might have to be, but Brooklyn has done a lot of kooky stuff. And I'll also say this: I think Phoenix offers the best package. I don't think Miami would part ways with Bam. I really don't. I think that they look at Bam as untouchable. I think that if Miami is a part of the trade, I think that Duncan Robinson goes to Brooklyn, and I also think that Tyler Hero go to that. I don't think they give up Bam. I really don't. They love Bam too much in Miami, actually. And Bam is a lot younger than KD is. Bam has another good 9-10 years. KD maybe 3 years, and that's it. So,
right.
But I think Miami. I think Phoenix is probably the team that offers the best package, in my opinion.
I do agree on paper. I think Phoenix's package is better. I will just say this. Pat Riley has shown in the past he's willing to give up young guys for big trades before, and it wouldn't surprise. Like he let Michael Beasley go. He let Michael Beasley walk, former number 2 overall pick. I know we now know when Michael Beasley became, but back then it was still a question. And they let him go to get LeBron James and Chris Bosh. They traded that whole young core that Dwayne Wade had in his rookie year for Shaq. I wouldn't be surprised if Pat Riley if they had to give up Bam to get KD, I think Pat Riley would be willing to do it. But like I said, because of the NBA's rules, there would need to be a 3-team deal to get Ben Simmons out of Brooklyn because you can't have traded for 2 players with designated max extensions. You can only have one via trade. So,
for sure. Just confirmed by Bobby Marks, what you just said, Dirk. The thing is with Miami, like because it's gonna require. Well, now okay, Brian Windhorst just reported, and
I hate him.
Yeah, I know, me too. But after Kevin Durant's trade request, Nets guard Kyrie Irving will likely be on the market as well. Don't know. Here's the thing. I think now, Jerg, I think is gonna just moving Simmons. I think is just gonna be too much for them because if KD's, they still need that one guy. Simmons is still there for like 3 or 4 years. I don't know how many years left. He's still the young guy. He's still someone you could kind of build around for them, right? So if you lose KD, you're going to lose KD. You might lose Kyrie. You'll get these assets, and you'll have them to run around with Simmons. So it's not going to look as bad for them next year. So I don't think Simmons is going to be traded, which means I think now that that's kind of out of the table, since that prevents them from getting Bam, I don't think Miami could get him. No offense, of course. The thing with Duncan Robinson, and Jerg, you can attest this, he's a negative asset right now.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a negative asset. That contract is garbage. And look, he didn't do himself any favors, but the Miami Heat also didn't do him any favors when they just didn't play him. But then again, you never know when these kind of things will happen. You never expect KD to request trades.
Well, could Miami be in play then for Kyrie if he's really going to ask out now?
I could see that. Do you want Kyrie?
I mean, no. Here's the thing. I don't fucking want him.
Yeah,
but Pat Riley shouldn't want him.
He just doesn't. Yeah, I do
for a star. And here's the thing. You can get Kyrie without giving up Bam. You can do that. And that's the only thing I think. I'll say this though. If
go ahead.
Pat Riley and Kyrie Irving are in the same organization. Like I can't imagine that. I can't imagine Pat Riley seeing Kyrie doing what he usually does and him not wanting to go down to practice and have Haslam choke him out. Like Udonis Haslam might rip Kyrie Irving's shoulders off because of the stupid stuff he's going to do with the Heat. Like it's a realistic possibility.
It's absurd. I there's just so many moving parts here. I'm trying to think. So it has to be a contender where KD goes, right? It has to be. I don't want to talk about.
He's not going to accept anything less. He's not going to accept anything less than a contender.
I don't want to talk about Kyrie yet because we kind of already talked about him last week, and it's not confirmed that he might be moved. It's just Windhorst is speculating that he might be on the move as well. Here's the thing. I don't think KD is going to the Lakers. Let's just cut that shit out. They have no one to offer. I don't want to hear it, Lakers fans. We already just talked about Miami. I don't think he'll go to Philly. Mavericks don't have anything to offer. I'm looking at it now. It's got to be Phoenix. Dame said Portland. I kind of like that offer of Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, I believe, picks here and there, maybe Nazir Little.
Yeah.
But does Brooklyn like that though? Because I don't know if Brooklyn wants to fully rebuild. Because those are 2 young stars. I think they're still going to want to compete, even because just to kind of jumpstart this thing with Simmons.
Well, remember all their first round picks belong to Houston, so
that is true. So maybe you're right, Jerg. Maybe they just want a plethora of picks. I think there's an unwritten rule in this show that we just can't mention the Knicks when it comes to trades, so I'm not going to mention them. Boston. What do we think about Boston?
I mean, it would have to be Brown.
It has to be Brown.
I don't think the Nets would trade him to Boston though.
Yeah,
but it's the best package though,
and get fleeced again by Boston somehow.
Well, I don't think Brown is a bad asset to get back in return for.
It's
KD.
not. I just think anything close to they'd have to be blown away by Boston. Like it's so much better than Phoenix's offer or something like that. I just don't see it happening
right now. I'm looking at the market right now. The only team, it's Phoenix. It's We'll just put Boston there just in terms of like enticing package. What Jerg?
JB, I'm going to throw this to you. If we're talking about dark horses here, the Pelicans, maybe Zion and KD on a team.
I see. I don't know, man.
Do you want that, JB?
I'm actually not. I actually don't want Zion on the team anymore. I mean, like, he hasn't proved to me that he can stay healthy. Like, look, is he talented? Yes, I'm a huge Duke fan. I've liked Zion for years, but like, he can't stay healthy, and he looks like he's more into like eating food. And giving him a max contract right now scares the hell out of me. It really does. And I actually I think they are going to sign him. There are going to be some protections to the thing. I was actually thinking about dangling him during the draft period and getting like some picks back and getting some young talent that will be on the court. I like Zion a lot, but like he's fat.
Right.
He's fat and he likes food.
hey, I can relate to that. But let's just say hypothetically, JB. You know, I know it's this because this is all hypothetical. Let me reset button real quick, ladies and gentlemen. We are reacting to this news live. Like, this was not planned. This is not shtick. We're kind of all over the place because this legitimately broke while we were recording. So everything you're hearing right now is literally off the dome. We're just like spitballing. Let's just say, JB, guaranteed you get Zion healthy for the next decade. Right? Guaranteed. Oh, maybe not a decade. Next 5 years, let's say.
Yeah. Let's.
Yeah, decades maybe too long. Let's just
because he's not going to age well. Yeah, next 5 years. Yeah, next 5 years.
Next 4 or 5 years, right? It's the trade package that New Orleans can offer. There's Brendan Ingram. You just got Johnny Davis. It's not just your first round picks.
No, they didn't get Johnny Davis.
They didn't. Oh wait,
that's
that was
Washington.
My bad.
Dyson Daniels.
Dyson Daniels.
So Dyson Daniels. Yeah, I really thought our lottery because our lottery was the true right one. But you got Dyson Daniels. You got Brendan Ingram. That's a big piece. He's proven himself. You got not just your first round picks. You have the Lakers' first round picks for the next couple of years. Like, I'm just saying there's a potential package there that you can put together. That there's still some pretty good players going the other way.
Well, here's my thing, man.
That's why I said dark horse.
They could be a dark horse, but I personally wouldn't make that deal because I think Ingram's going to be around a lot longer than Durant is going to be, and I don't trust Zion's health. If you could like sit me down and say, okay, like, Zion's going to be healthy for the next 7 years, would I do it? Because I would do it hypothetically because I think Zion, you have to win now with Zion because I think the last like part of his career is not going to be pretty. I think he's going to have a lot of injuries. But I think they're a dark horse, but I don't think it's going to get done. I would rather
go ahead, JB.
Oh no, you can go first. Yeah.
No, I kind of agree with you on that one. I think if you trade Ingram, you get KD for his last remaining prime years, but can you trust Zion to be healthy? That's a risk. The safest option for them is to keep Ingram. But they're not like I don't think they would trade Zion for KD. I'm with you, bro. I think the Pelicans should kind of just stay on the course they're in right now. This kind of youth movement. They already made the playoffs. Give the Suns a run for their money. I like where you guys are at. I wouldn't do it if I'm them. The only reason I think they're a dark horse in terms of enticing trade assets. And also I don't think KD would also want to go there either.
No, he wouldn't.
Should we touch upon the Knicks?
Oh my god.
Dude, shut the fuck up.
It's just
Dame, you've been quiet here for a bit. Like, do you have any other teams that could potentially? I think Phoenix and Miami are the top two, and I like Portland that you said, Dame, to be like the top dark horse for them. Is there another team that you could conceivably see KD wanting to go to?
What about Memphis?
I mentioned Memphis in one of our chats. It's just I don't know. I just don't see him wanting to go to Memphis.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's gonna have a say in some of it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. Oh, my biggest thing is like I just don't see a possibility of someone overpaying for KD. I don't think it's possible to overpay for KD. I think whatever you can give up, you give up for a guy like KD. Like, obviously, the Suns wouldn't give up a Devin Booker or CP3, but if you have to give up Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Ian and picks, like, you still got to do that, in my opinion. And if it's I know that obviously they couldn't do the Ben Simmons thing, but hypothetically, if they could get rid of Ben Simmons, like if I'm the Heat, if I have to give up Bam to go get a KD, like I do that too. I give up whatever I possibly can to get KD on my team, especially if I have another star or 2 stars there and make KD that third guy and everything else I could just gut. I'm doing it because KD is just that guy.
Guys, let me just read this tweet. Reminder, the Rockets own the rights to or can swap picks with Brooklyn each of the next 5 years. 2023, Nets first round swap. 2024, Nets first round pick. 2025, Nets first round swap. 2026, Nets first round pick. 2027, Nets first round swap. Every single one of those picks is unprotected.
That's like that's why I mentioned it's like you want to get picks back here if you're Brooklyn, but let's be real here. Like whoever you're giving up KD to, they're going to be mid to late first round picks.
Right.
So
This is
you
what
need to get players back.
Yes, that's exact. Yeah, and that's why I think Phoenix is the overwhelming favorite here. That's why I think they're the overwhelming favorite.
Let me just clarify. I don't disagree. As a Heat fan,
For sure.
For contending purposes, and let's say you can somehow convince Kyrie. Who the hell knows with this guy? But let's say you can convince Kyrie to stay, and you're starting, and your lineup 4/5 of your lineup will be Kyrie, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton. That's a playoff team. Like whether we like it or not, on paper, that's a playoff team.
Sure.
So it's
really you get Russell Westbrook for Kyrie from the Lakers.
Well, that's the thing on paper. Kyrie, the idea of Kyrie is way better than Kyrie the player. So sure. I mean, I've heard Kyrie on paper for like the last 5 years. I don't know. It's just KD might have played his cards right here. I mean, he's a bitch still. Not if he comes to the Knicks, though. I'm sucking that man off if he comes to the Mecca. But go ahead, Jared.
Can we just point out the fact that Kyrie did this to LeBron? He was kind of screwing around with KD, and KD just played the reverse card. Like
that. Shout out to him. It's about time. Kyrie deserves it. I mean, if Kyrie ends up on the Heat, though, I mean, dodge the bullet there. But wow. Look, in hindsight here, I think. Not hindsight. This just happened like 2 seconds ago. We're all happy. Brooklyn's up in flames. Thank God. I think whatever happens, KD's out the East. What does this mean for the Eastern Conference? Like, I think this is just a freeway for Giannis here.
Oh my God!
Because who is stopping Giannis in the East? It would have. I mean, if the Heat get Kyrie, then maybe we'll talk. Yeah, talk to me. Who in the East is going to emerge?
I mean,
I think this opens up a lot, though.
Yeah.
So, but now, what does this mean for the West? That West.
You think Kevin?
Go ahead.
I'm just spitballing teams here just because I want to have fun with this. Do you think Kevin Durant likes Canada? Do you think he'd play in Toronto?
Nope.
yeah, probably not. Nope. I don't know. I don't know how to react. Like my brain is kind of broken by this. Like again, we're reacting to all this live, so who knows? I think Phoenix is the overwhelming favorite. But to your point here, Chris, like if Kevin Durant is like going to leave the West for sure, and even I think just for making things easier, I think even a trade with Portland would be easier to do than Miami. So,
for sure.
I just think if we're going to, with the assumption here, and I'll let JB and Dame like put in their 2 cents here. I think Kevin Durant leaving the West, everything like the East is anyone's conference, but specifically Giannis is to lose. So like JB, Dame, like throw in your like any final thoughts you guys have here. But Kevin Durant really shifting the power balance yet again here in the NBA.
I think that I think that the East, it's gonna be interesting because I won't say it's Milwaukee's definitely because Middleton and Drew Holiday are getting up there in age. By the way, Giannis is still young, but Middleton and Drew have some mileage on them, so I won't say this. I think it's gonna. Right now, you would have to say with Brooklyn like not being there, you have to say probably. It's going to be Milwaukee and Boston and Miami. One of those 3 teams probably emerging from the East next year.
I forgot about Boston. I forgot about them. Yeah. So,
well, hey, this really reopens things for Boston because I'm not going to lie. Like, I know a lot of people fell in love with the Celtics during this run, but I think there are still flaws on that team where they're easily susceptible. And yeah. I hate playing the what if game, but if Chris Middleton's healthy, the Bucks are winning that series. Let's keep it real.
For sure.
So I think if you're Boston, you need to take advantage. If Kevin Durant leaves the East, you need to make a big move, not for a superstar, but you need to make the right roster move here.
Oh, they're only missing a point guard, though. I mean, I think that's their biggest thing. Their biggest flaw was that they didn't have a point guard, and Drew Holiday and Tatum are just not really playmakers. That's where the turnovers came from. Yeah. And Marcus Smart is not a starting point guard. I think that's the biggest thing. I think their defense is outstanding, man. They're hard to score on. If they don't turn the ball over, they're very hard to score on.
The thing is, you can't have it all though, because I think the Celtics with a point guard is a perfect team. Like I don't know. It's just, and what's the point guard market looking like? You know. But I do want to read this tweet. This is from John Gambadoro, Gambo987. He actually covers the Suns. he tweeted, just told, I guess he was just told that the Suns are now shifting their focus to Kevin Durant, obviously. However, they don't want to gut the whole team to get him, but that discussion is now the main priority. I mean,
guess what? You're gutting your team if
you have to. You have to. Unless, like, Josiah is just like, all right, Kevin, we'll do right by you. But because, like,
supposedly he went straight to the owner to request a trade. He didn't go through his agent or anything. He went straight to the owner.
So I guess there's like the quote-unquote respect factor. I don't know. I mean, look, if this is just the DeAndre Ayton picks straight up and the Suns are able to keep the Mikal Bridges of the world, keep the Cam Johnsons of the world, that's going to be a highway robbery. But I don't know. And Jerk, what do you think about? Like, I think
they'd have to give up one of Cam Johnson or Bridges at least.
They have to. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they want Mikal Bridges, and I'm pretty sure Phoenix will want to give up Cam Johnson instead. But, like, I think because they've lost so many picks, because this whole thing's a failure, they look bad on this. I don't know if they're going to settle for less than that mega package. I just think maybe for PR purposes, like, you can't even afford that. You're already laughing stock right now. If you could kind of fleece, not really fleece because it's Kevin Durant, but if you could, like, snag a pretty good package, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's like, it kind of is because you need to win a championship with KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, by the way. But what do we think? Do you guys think that the Nets will settle for less, maybe just to accommodate for KD, or do you think they're just going to go full throttle, guns blazing? We want the best package.
They shouldn't settle for less. Like because he went to the ownership, because of their respect, I think the Nets are going to tell him, like, look, we will trade you to the team you want, but we need to get something back here because the situation, like, look, let's be real here. Like, part of the reason why the Nets no longer have any first round picks is because of Kevin Durant and yes, Kyrie, but it's the two of them are the reason why the Nets traded heaven and earth for James Harden. And that whole experiment didn't even technically last the full 82 games. So I think if you're the Nets, I think there's a way to communicate with KD, like, whatever team you want to go to, we will send you, but we need to get back the best possible package we can for you because you are this kind of star player, and there needs to be an understanding there. And for all that we say about Kevin Durant, I think because of what the Nets have, the BS the Nets have dealt with, I think he's willing to give them that benefit of, like, okay, get the best you can. If it goes like a step too far, then maybe he'll be like, hold the hell up now. But we know the Suns are not going to give Chris Paul or Devin Booker in this deal. So I don't think there needs to be any worries there. So it would be that whole front court, and then you just got to hit a reset button there if you're Phoenix. And look, you just need a good defensive orientated center if you're going to make this like signing after if you're going to make this kind of deal. We know DeAndre Jordan's probably going to sign with the Suns as a backup big because he just loves going to wherever Kevin Durant is. But like, if you're Phoenix, there is more than a fair way that you can make this trade and you can still have good pieces to surround now your big three with, because like teams will go like these mid-level players, because I'm sure they have at least one or two mid-level exceptions to use. They'll sign with you. Like I get not wanting to gut your team, but at the end of the day, like the East would be wide open, and in the West, the Warriors just won. The Nuggets should be back healthy. You need to compete with them. If you know this core is not going to get it done, why not take it to that next level? And Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, I like their chances a lot more against the Warriors and the Nuggets than Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, you're talking about the Nuggets, man? You need to talk about the Clippers, man.
Kawhi and Paul George coming back too.
And John Wall. I think that actually just no season hasn't started yet, and they're going to be playing. They're actually my favorite to win the championship next year, actually.
Really? Oh, I mean, look, for me, the Clippers, and I love Kawhi, he's my favorite player, but like I need to see the Clippers get there, and then I could talk. I mean, I thought that was going to be them.
Well, I mean, and understandable, but I mean, you have to figure that probably in 21, if Kawhi doesn't tear his ACL in that game 4, they beat Phoenix, they make the finals that year.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So,
but I just think, I don't know, the West is going to be loaded, especially if KD goes there. Oh my goodness, yeah, this really like puts a damper on things. I don't know where to go from here. We'll talk about free agency next week, but let's finish off the episode with some trades that did occur. Bear with us, everyone. This is just monumental. This is league shifting news. So we had to talk about it, of course. Small trade happened, and I think everyone's going to forget about it even more now. But KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, And Itch Smith got traded to the Denver Nuggets for Will Barton and Monte Morris. Now, I know that the Wizards were looking for a point guard. I know they drafted Johnny Davis in the draft, but I think Monte Morris is a solid player. I think Will Barton's an excellent, bench piece as well. So I think for the Wizards, this is a pretty decent pickup for them. They get that guard. They have some guard depth now. And Will Barton's another scoring piece. I think they're kind of loaded in the front court, so they definitely needed some help in the back court. But they have some depth now. We all predict that Bradley Beal is going to re-sign with them, of course, underwhelmingly so. And for the Nuggets here, Ish Smith finds his 40th team in his career. I do think KCP is a pretty good addition for them. Now, hold up. See, I have to check my phone all the time for Twitter. Okay, never mind. Unimportant stuff. So I think I actually like the addition of KCP for the Nuggets. And MPJ is going to be back. Jamal Murray is going to be back. Everyone's going to be healthy, and I think he is a great shooting guard to complement Jamal Murray. So, man, I think the Nuggets are going to be stacked next year. I think that lineup of Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Mike Porter Jr. Who's their 4 again? No, who's their 3?
The Nuggets?
Yeah, who's their? It's
Michael Porter.
It's not Michael Porter Jr.?
Who's their 4? Well, Jokic at the 5.
Aaron Gordon.
There you go. So I think that lineup is stacked. So you add some shooting to that lineup. Wow. So I think that starting 5 becomes very versatile. I think as Murray tries to get back his mojo, as he gets back to the swing of things, I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a good player to kind of take off the offensive scoring load. I know you have your Jokic's and you have your Michael Porter Jr., but you just never know with how they're going to come back. So I do think it'll make things easier for them, and especially from a playmaking standpoint for Murray. They'll find KCP in the corner, knock down threes, knock down shooter. Yeah. So I think it's solid for both teams. W for both, actually. I don't have a winner or loser in this one. But yeah, anyone could kind of jump in.
I kind of see it as pretty even as well. However, I do think the Nuggets kind of gave up the 2 better players in the deal. I think Monte Morris and Will Barton were really good for them coming off the bench. I know Barton kind of had this health issue, so did Morris and stuff. But I've seen enough of KCP to know how inconsistent he is. And obviously, Ish Smith is just a guy. I don't really see him as any kind of asset, really any kind of contributor to a winning team. He's just kind of a journeyman that you throw into the trade. If I had to pick up the best 4 players in the deal, I would say KCP is the best one. But then I think 2 and 3 are Morris and Barton. And I think because they were successful on the Nuggets, I just didn't see a reason to move them. But I see why you just insert KCP into that 2 spot in the starting lineup. And now you have a really good rounded starting 5 to compete in that West. I don't know what it's going to do for their depth going forward because I don't know who else they have coming off the bench now. They obviously have a whole offseason to fix it through free agency and other trades. So we'll see where they go from there. But I don't really see a true winner or loser either. I just think I'd kind of lean towards the Wizards because they got 2 out of the 3 best players in the deal.
For me, I think the Nuggets, I think you could say both win because I think for Washington, it's just getting 2 decent players that you could flip down the line for more assets or that could contribute to the team if they could end up being a surprise play-in team this year. I think for Denver, a big thing for this is that this really opens up for even way more playing time for Bones Highland. I think this is setting up for him to have a really good year 2 off the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a Tyler Hero leap in terms of, being the 6th man, being the leader of that bench unit for scoring. And this opens that up. KCP, I think, is a great complement to Jamal Murray and Jokic being at the 2, a very good 2-way player, can space the floor, hit those wide open threes. I think the Lakers missed him a lot more than people realized this past season, especially for what he could do on the perimeter, which I think perimeter defense is going to be, especially with the news that we've had in this episode, perimeter defense is going to be big in the Western Conference here. So I think it was a good move by the Nuggets overall. Barton and Morris, good pieces, but both strictly mainly offensive players. Neither are really that good defensively. I think KCP adding that 2-way player, you can replace Will Barton with a 3-and-D player in free agency, I think. And Bones Highland takes Monte Morris's role. I think great move all around.
That's why, Jerg, that you bring that up. That's why I think that's why they were fine kind of giving up Monte Morris because they believe in Bones Highland to kind of pick up that slack as a 6-man guard for them. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. JB, do you have any brief thoughts?
I actually like what Washington did. I think that they got Monte Morris. Monte Morris has 2 years left on that contract at $19 million, which is really good.
Solid,
It's
yeah.
like, I mean, for a guy that's like kind of a backup point guard, 6 man, I think the reason why Denver made the deal is because I think that they're gonna have salary cap problems next year because you have Joker who's going to end up being on the super max, and then you have Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. They have like some tax problems with that team, and I also think that Bones Highland's on kind of a very cheap salary at the moment. I do think that they think he's ready to take that leap, but
Yep.
I like the move for the Wizards though, and I honestly I would not be surprised if they don't end up in the top 6 next year in the East if everybody stays healthy.
It's a huge if, buddy. It's a huge if. I mean, you
Yeah,
never
it's a
know.
huge if. It's a huge
Well,
if
when
thing.
KD moves, that's another team that's out of that top 6.
That is true, but
This is going to be wide open.
well, they need to fix this this Beal thing. I don't know what's going to happen there.
Oh, if Bill,
think
if Bill comes back, that is, if Bill comes back, yeah.
They have some solid depth. The Wizards do. They have some decisions to make actually, because I don't think you could play all those players. But yeah, that'll do it. Guys, we have some waves news. Some waving. I don't know. Some players have been waived.
Gallinari
Sorry.
got waived. Who cares?
That is,
And
but
one-
that's
and
a
Bo
pretty
Cruz.
decent piece for like a contender.
Wait,
if they
who
want.
got waived? I didn't hear that.
Gallinari from the Spurs.
I mean,
Bo
that-
Cruz.
yeah, that's.
I mean,
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm hearing Gallinari to Boston. I'm hearing
You are?
Gallinari to Boston. Yeah, I'm hearing Gallinari to Boston because Boston wants like another like kind of person off their bench they can rely. Their bench really shit the bed. They really shit the bed like the last 3 games of the finals. So I mean, Gallinari would be a piece that they could rely on. So yeah.
I think Gallinari to Boston would be decent. Jerk, what about Gallinari to Miami?
I mean,
If you
Miami
lose
wanted
PJ
him
Tucker-
a couple years ago,
if you lose PJ Tucker,
yeah,
if you lose PJ Tucker, then I think you can fill in that role.
yeah, Miami wanted him a couple years ago. A lot of people forget that. Like he was gonna go to Miami, but the problem is, so it was like Iguodala and a bunch of the guys had signed 1+1 deals. Gallinari wanted more than that, and that's why he ultimately didn't end up being sent over to Miami. That's why that fell through. I wouldn't mind it. He's not as good of a defender as PJ Tucker, but I think offensively, you just park him in the corner and have him shoot threes. I think he's going to be a good 3-point shooter, reliable veteran for you off the bench. I think that's ultimately what Gallinari's like main role would be for going to a contending veteran team. I wouldn't hate it. It sucks losing PJ Tucker because I do like PJ Tucker, but at the same time, I've made my peace with the fact that Miami's going to lose him to Philadelphia this offseason. So,
Okay, yeah, that's definitely I can see that happening. All right, last trade that we'll talk about. DeJounte Murray got traded to the Atlanta Hawks yesterday. So the Hawks get DeJounte Murray. The Hawks send the Spurs 3 unprotected first-round picks. 2 of them are theirs. The other one is Charlotte's, I believe. And they also sent Danilo Gallinari, who was, in fact, waived. So I think that was just for salary purposes. So the Spurs, it's clearly what they're doing. I didn't understand the want to trade DeJounte Murray. Like,
Because they told him he's not signing an extension in the summer.
oh, I just thought they wanted to just tank for
Club
Victor.
Sports came out and said they told the Spurs they weren't signing an extension with them in the summer. That's what led to the whole stuff.
Oh, I did not know that. All right, well, thank you for the inside, Dame. Yeah, all right, so then I get it now. So they get draft capital, but it's clear that the Spurs, it's Victor. What's his last name?
Wembanyama?
Yeah, I'm just going to call him Victor. Big Vic is everyone. I think, well, the Spurs and OKC, like, they're going to try so hard for him next season. And so I think because the draft lottery is unpredictable, I think a lot of these teams that are purposely tanking want to accumulate as many unprotected firsts just in case so they can move up. So if the Spurs snag like their 3rd pick overall, just include the Hawks picks, maybe try to trade it for first. Same thing with OKC. You never know. But that's what they're doing.
OKC's winning that. OKC could, like, if OKC gets like the 2nd pick and whoever gets first like is willing to give it up, OKC will trade 10 first-round picks for just that. Like, this is not even hyperbole.
This is the guy. This is the guy, and the Spurs definitely want him. He has some connections to Tony Parker as well, so it's clear why the Spurs did this. For the Hawks, I mean, DeJounte Murray, I guess, like, he's a really good player. Don't get me wrong. Do I like the fit in Atlanta? I personally don't. Does he move the needle for Atlanta? I don't think so, actually. Because him and Trae Young, you're going to have to start DeJounte Murray at the 2 guard, right? Both of them are really bad off ball. DeJounte Murray can't shoot. John Collins is out the window. I don't know where he's going. What do we feel about this for Atlanta? Like, obviously, he's a good player. DeJounte Murray's a good player. They get talent back, but like, how do we see the fit? Do we see this moving the needle for them? Talk to me, guys. Dame, let me start off with you.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that's the kind of package you have to give up to get DeJounte Murray. I know a lot of people thought it was an overtrade, whatever, but I personally thought the package was fair. Guy's 25. He just came off a 1999 season under Greg Popovich. Like, he's a star in the making, if not a star already. However, I do agree that for the Hawks, it just doesn't make sense because, like you said, the fit next to Trae Young to me just doesn't make sense. They both are players that need the ball. I think they both know how to run an offense well, but you can't run an offense with two different guys with one basketball. Like, neither one of them is gonna catch and shoot. I guess you could say Trae Young can, but he's better doing it off the dribble and stuff. DeJounte Murray's not gonna go sit there in the corner, sit there on the wing, and catch and shoot. For most of the game when Trae Young's just dribbling the life out of the ball and then passes him at the last second. DeJounte Murray, obviously, he's a kind of a bigger guard, so maybe it'll help them defensively. When Trae Young, it won't be guarding the best backcourt player. DeJounte Murray can. I see that part of it. But just going forward, I think they're kind of maxed out now. Obviously, they're going to have to give Murray the extension. Then you have that. You have Collins. You have Trae Young. Obviously, you have DeAndre Hunter and Bogdanovich on deals. Like, you're kind of maxed out what you can do, especially after giving up these first-round picks. So you're kind of rolling with the squad for the next 5 years about. I don't really see how they're going to improve upon that. They're just going to have to hope that these guys take a big leap going forward and really mesh. So, overall, I just don't see how it makes sense for the Hawks, but I understand the package. I don't have a problem with the package. I just think Murray could have been suited elsewhere, maybe very close to home. Around here, but
I don't know about that. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, I'll keep that for another time. But I like the package. I don't think they overpaid. I just don't think it makes sense as a fit for the Hawks.
JB?
Yeah, I don't like the fit either. I get in theory what they're doing. They need to become a better defensive perimeter team, and I think with him, and I think with DeAndre Hunter, I think that they have definitely improved their perimeter defense. But the conundrum is the fact that both guys are ball dominant, and Trae should, like in theory, should maybe become the one that moves a lot without the ball, but he's not going to do that. And like you mentioned, I do think that Murray has improved as a shooter, but he's not a sniper. Out in the perimeter. I think he's better as a slasher. He has, a good floater. He's good at finishing at the rim, but his mid-range game is kind of shaky, and his three ball isn't there yet either. So I don't know. Are they gonna trade Collins and get something else there that could kind of change the team? I'm not sure. And I also think that Bogdanovich maybe. He's on the market, I think, as well, too. But, he recently had knee surgery. So I think that's the reason why he wasn't a part of the Spurs still. I think if he wouldn't have had knee surgery, I think Bogdanovich would have replaced Gallinari, from what I've heard.
Maybe Kevin Huerter is on the move?
Oh, yeah, I think Huerter's on the move, too. I think if for some reason, if Boston doesn't get Gallinari, I've also heard Huerter to Boston as well.
Wow. Boston just getting everyone. Damn. That sucks. All right, Jerg, what do you got to say about this?
It's certainly interesting. I think the idea, and also Herder, just checking on him, he's actually entering the first year of his extension that he signed, actually. So really interesting to see. But yeah, Atlanta, like JB said, I get what they're doing with adding a defender next to Trae Young, because I think when you have a point guard who's a below average defender, let's be real here, Trae Young is a below average defender, you need to surround him with very good defenders. And I think DeJounte Murray and DeAndre Hunter, man, your defense is in a good spot, on the perimeter. But at the same time, I think the idea would have also, and I also get the idea that they wanted a guard that could also be a playmaker, because DeJounte Murray really proved he can be a playmaker. But it's like you guys said, he's very ball dominant. Like, these are two guys that both need to have the basketball a lot, a good high usage rate. DeJounte Murray was the catalyst of whatever the Spurs offense did show to be last season. So I think from that perspective, this is interesting for the Hawks and what they're trying to do. This will be a big task for Nate McMillan to try to work with. That being said, they're definitely not done yet. I think there's more moves to be made. Like we said, John Collins from all intents and purposes, from what we're hearing, he is done in Atlanta and he wants to be moved. So what they could move him for, is there a chance there is still more moves to come? Is there another big trade in the making? Who knows? I don't think this is the last move by Atlanta. I know they did trade those, 3 firsts and also that pick swap, but I don't know if this is the last of their moves this offseason. I could still see them trying to put one more move together.
I don't know what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. I mean, this KD thing came out of nowhere. I do think you're right, Jurg. I think Atlanta's not done trading. The issue I have is that I thought Atlanta's core strength was just depth, shooting depth throughout their whole team, And with Gallinari gone, Collins, who's not the best shooter, but he can't shoot the ball. If Herter's gone, it's just their depth is kind of meh. It's kind of, and I know they got AJ Griffin in the draft, but I don't know. I feel like they're kind of diminishing their strengths, which is kind of what brought them to the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago. I know DeJounte Murray makes up for the defense that Trae Young lacks, and they're really banking off him, of that tandem being a really top tier duo, which they could possibly be. It's just I want to see how both of them fit next to each other because I don't know. Murray, I think we talked about average 18, almost a triple double. Does that happen in Atlanta when you're not the number one primary option? I don't know. I doubt it, but then again, I could be wrong because Trae's there. But I saw that Trae is ecstatic having DeJounte Murray, so I don't think chemistry will be an issue. It's just I don't know. It's going to take a sacrifice.
No, chemistry, I'm sure won't be an issue. It's just the overall actual basketball fit.
Facts.
I think will take some time to get used to.
Yeah, but wow, what an episode. And it's not going to get any lighter because next week we're just going to go over the free agency moves. But oh my God, breaking news galore. Really hard to explain this into terms. Dame's not going to even be here next week. But all right, wow, I'm speechless. Jurg, where can they find us in the socials, bro?
It's at SomeWhatSports on Instagram to keep track of us on IG and what we're going to be posting. We're definitely going to have a couple updates on the IG page throughout. When episodes get posted, we share that, but also, we may have some posts and some graphics here and there when it comes to all this stuff because, as we have seen, it's going to be a wild off-season, ladies and gentlemen, and we're not even at the official beginning of the free agency moratorium yet. What a time to be alive for the NBA. You can also catch us at Somewhat Sports YouTube channel, of course, Somewhat Space and Sports on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel there. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. And same thing, Spotify, Somewhat Spaced in Sports. 5-star ratings are appreciated. Any feedback, any critiques are, more than welcome. If you love certain aspects of the show, let us know. If you want to see more from us, if you want us to play a couple more games, have some more segments, stuff like that. Hey, we're open to it, baby. The Somewhat Sports Podcast is the podcast for the people, and the Somewhat Sports Podcast is looking to make the summer of 2022 belong to them.
It's beautifully said as always, Jurg. I want to run through walls now. But yeah, Jurg and Dame, phenomenal job as always. JB, always an honor to have you on, brother. You killed it as well. You can come back anytime. It's just, wow. You came back at the best. You came for an appearance at the best time possible. Historical times indeed for Somewhat Sports. So to all the listeners, listening, if you did make it this far, we appreciate the shit out of you. And until next time, peace.